Hi, welcome back to JV Foodie. It's been a minute, life got in the way, but let's start the fall season off right with something you may have never even heard of, Apple Betty. Okay, first things first, let's measure some of our ingredients out to have them set off to the side and ready to go. So the first two things I'm going to measure out are the 2 spices, yep, you heard me, just 2 spices that you need for this delicious Apple Betty. The first one is going to be nutmeg. You only need a 1/4 of a teaspoon, and that came out to 0.08 grams worth for me. And then your second spice is going to be ground cinnamon, and you only need 1/2 teaspoon or about 1.3 grams worth of that. Up next, you're going to measure out 1 cup or about 214 grams worth of granulated white sugar. Follow that by measuring out 3/4 of a cup or about 119 grams worth of all-purpose flour. So the next thing we need to do is actually to prepare our apples. So I have 4 apples here. Honestly, I don't know what variety I picked. I actually let my toddler pick, so who knows? I wasn't really paying too much attention, so sorry. And for these apples, you want to slice them as thin as you can get them. I used a regular kitchen knife. I would assume you could probably use a mandolin for this, and that would make your life way easier, but you do want them thin. You want thin apple slices, not chunky apple slices you dip in caramel sauce, okay? You want thin slices, thin. Once you hit the minimum required amount of 4 lovely cups of thinly sliced apples, it's time to get these into a pie dish. Before you go tossing any apples, and definitely not the wine that you see pictured, into your pie dish, you need to make sure to food lube this up. I'm using some butter that I just have from the fridge, and I'm just going to take the stick and rub it around and make sure I get all of the crevices. After I've done that, I am then going to toss my 4 cups worth of thinly sliced apples right into the pie dish unceremoniously. Just go for it. Dump them in there. Once your sliced apples have gotten accustomed to their new home, you are then going to take 1/4 of a cup of orange juice, and according to the directions, sprinkle the orange juice over the apples. I asked my husband, how does one sprinkle orange juice? And I attempted to make a motion in which I felt like would be a sprinkling of orange juice, and then I ended up just dumping it just all over the apples. So use the word sprinkle as you wish. Once you are done adorning your thinly sliced apples with your sprinkling of orange juice, you're going to set that aside, and now we need to worry about the wonderful, crumbly, delicious topping that's going to go on top. So to a clean mixing bowl, we are adding our 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, our 1 cup of white sugar, our 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and our 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And then you're going to need a pinch of salt, and then give that a good stir or mix, and then have your husband yell at you that he bought you a tiny whisk for a reason and you continuously forget to use it. From here, set this off to the side, and now what you are going to need is a 1/2 cup or 1 full stick of cold butter. So this has been hanging out in the fridge still, and I'm going to cut this up into small cubes before I add it to the mixture we just made. Once cubed, add it to that flour, sugar, spice mixture we just made, like I said, and then the directions say to use 2 knives or a pastry blender and mix the flour and butter together. I don't love using 2 knives or 2 forks to do this, and I also don't own a pastry blender, so I just decided to make my life easier, and I just like doing it, and I use my hands. So I am mixing the butter together with the flour, and I'm just smushing it all together to get a nice sandy crumbly topping. Pause for puppy appreciation. Puppy should not be in the scene, but Puppy is there anyways and thinks this smells good and it ended up tasting good, though he never got any, just so we're all clear. All right, puppy appreciation over. Once you have a coarse crumb texture ready to go, it's time to bring those sliced apples back over to the table and let's get them topped. So the easiest way to go about doing this is, I don't know why I made my life harder, but we thought that using the spider would evenly distribute the crumbs, and that was just silly. Just use your hands, okay? Just use your hands. So take your hands, like I was originally going to do, and just sprinkle it all over the top. It's going to look like a lot of crumb topping. Just make sure you cover every last inch. Like, you don't want to see a single piece of raw sliced apple anywhere. Cover it all. Pack it in there. It's going to work out, I promise, and it's going to be delicious. We had just like the tiniest bit of crumb left, by the way, if this ends up being you too, and it was delicious. We just ate it. I mean, probably shouldn't recommend eating raw flour. Yeah, definitely don't do that. Okay, don't do that, but it was really good even before it was cooked. So now this bad boy is ready to go into a hopefully preheated oven. So your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius, and you're going to bake this until the streusel is browned and the filling is hot, which is about 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you have this beautiful masterpiece that comes out. It smells so good. It smells like apple pie, but just a little different. Like, you can tell it's not white apple pie. There's something different about this, but the same feeling, and it's, oh, my house smelled so good. So good, and it looked delicious. It was really hard to let this cool down. We let ours cool for about half an hour. It does thicken as it cools, and we served it warm. And let me tell you, because me and my husband, we added a scoop of vanilla ice cream to this. We just couldn't resist, and this was delicious. We honestly demolished half of that in just that sitting. So once we were done filming, we kept eating. It's that good. It's sweet, it's crumbly, it's got that top coating that gets just a little craggly from all the heat. The filling really does thicken up. So like I said, it has almost like a cobbler apple pie feel to it, and it's really good, and it was so easy to make. So if you don't want to put all the effort into a pie, or maybe you don't really like crust, this is the way to go. I will probably make this a lot this fall because it was so easy and it's so good, and I highly recommend you give this a go. So I hope you try Apple Betty. Maybe you didn't even know what it was. I didn't. And give it a try and love it just as much as I did. And if you did, leave a comment down below. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.